It's not always what it seems. That's the message today. It's not always what it seems. The connection might be weak, so bear with me if it's fuzzy. It's not always what it seems. And so this is a topic about perception, right? And if you want to know the definition of perception, is this. It's a way of regarding, understanding, or interpreting something, a mental impression of something, right? But the fact of the matter is you could take two people, they can look at the same situation, and through their senses, their perception, their preconceived knowledge, their bias, they'll see it two different ways. I'm telling you, I mean, really, what is truth? Truth comes through our perception, right? So sometimes, perception is reality, right? I saw one cartoon where two people were looking at the number 6, but it also was the number 9, and they were arguing, right? So this person was on this side of the number. It was written in chalk on the ground, right? And this person was on this side of the number. And this person was looking at a 6 saying, no, the number is a 6, arguing, serious. And this person's looking at the 9 from this direction saying, no, you must be crazy. The number is a 9. And they can't agree, right? 6, 9, 6, 9. But the reality was they were both right if you looked at their angle, right? So I remember the quote, just because you are right doesn't mean I am wrong. You just haven't seen life from my side. Can I get a like on that, right? Just because you are right doesn't mean I am wrong, right? Jamal says perception can change everything for the better or the worse. That's true. Perception is one of those things, right? You look at it, what you see is what you get, right? Think you can or cannot, you're right. If you think it's that way, you'll find it. If you're looking for it, it'll show up. That's how perception works, right? The brain, the scientists say that we've got thousands of pieces of information to take in every day. Just the amount of advertisements we see is about 3,000. Now, you're probably not thinking that way. You're not saying, oh, I've heard and seen and thought about 3,000 advertisements. But think about it. Billboards and radio and TV and social media, all this stuff is coming at you. But what you pay attention to, what you see, what you perceive is the stuff that's kind of already in your consciousness, if you will. They call it like the reticular activating system. You ever know when you're looking for a car or you just bought a car, all of a sudden you see that car on the highway more? You ever notice that? Like the minute you get a car, or at least you're in the market for the car and you start researching, going to the car lot, all of a sudden the car is everywhere. Like they're passing you this way. There's 2 of them behind you. It's not that more of the cars started showing up. It's that you're perceiving them differently because they're already in your consciousness. So you're turning off these things over here and you're more in tune to the things that you were looking for. And that's just how the brain works. So when we already make up in our mind that this group of people is this way, or this situation is this way, or myself, people like me are this way, situations always turn out that way, I'm never going to be this is never going to work out, this is this, and everything's set in stone. Guess what? We find it. We find it out of all the pieces of positive evidence that would support the fact that you can do it, you are more than a conqueror, you are more than enough, you are good enough. All the pieces of evidence that would support that will suppress. Will suppress. Where is that? Yeah. All the pieces of evidence that would support the positive outcome will suppress oftentimes. And the negative stuff will cleave to, right? We'll perceive those things to be right. So I want to tell you a story. It's not always the way it seems. And when we're dealing with other people, right? When we're dealing with other people, so oftentimes we make false judgments, quick judgments about other people, right? We perceive things very quickly. We believe they're true. And oftentimes, we got to go back and we have to apologize. If we're wise, we'll apologize for our mistakes and our misjudgments and things like that. A lot of people don't. But I want to tell you about a story of something like that. And it was about a guy, right? It's about a guy. This was a very kind guy. I mean, this guy was very kind, generous, kind-hearted, would give you the shirt off his back, was always willing to help people in the neighborhood. Like one of those guys that kind of never stayed at home. You see him in the barbershop. You see him just kind of walking down the street. You see him like in communities with a lot of people. Like, that guy. Like, I know a few of them when I was growing up. It's just always around. This guy knew everybody, would always help people. He'd help the lady cross the street, and he didn't want anything in return. He was just that kind of guy that loved to help people. Very kind guy, All right? So one night he was walking down an alley, a really dark alley, and he found an empty purse. He found an empty purse, no money in it. He picked it up, and just as he was trying to pick it up to figure out who it belonged to, this woman came around the corner with this police officer, this flashlight, and the police officer said, "Freeze!" And the lady said, "He's got my purse," right? And the officer came over to him, made him get on the ground and stuff, and the lady came over, and she was crying, and she looked in the purse, noticed it was empty, and she said, "What did you do with all my money? Where did you hide it?" And the man said, "Ma'am, I just found your purse. It was empty. It was empty when I found it. I didn't do anything. I didn't take your money. That money is for my son's tuition. You better give it back. Where did you hide it?" Officers, trying to figure out, "Hey, where'd you hide it?" and stuff like that. And he said, "Ma'am, again, I didn't take your money. I wouldn't do that. Like, I don't do that." Right? And finally, after keep pressing him and stuff, he took the money out of his back pocket, his own money, all the money he had, and he gave it to her. And he said, "Here, you can have it. Sorry for the inconvenience." Now, mind you, he didn't take the money, but because of his heart, he was willing to give her all the money. He noticed she was a single mother. Although her perception was wrong, he could tell from her heart she really needed the money. It's for the school. So here, take it. And the woman went about her way. The officer continued to question him, and the officer believed him. The officer recognized him as that kind guy who'd been in the community for a while and believed that he hadn't taken the money, and he literally just gave the woman all the money he had. Money for food, money for whatever he needed it for, right? So about a week later, the lady's walking to the school, right, from around the corner, and she notices this really skinny, frail guy following her, right? And she says, she turns around, the guy's still following her, right? And she gets really nervous at this point, and she summons the police, like, "Hey, this guy's following me." And the police is the same police officer from the other night, right? And come to find out, when they approach the guy, right, he collapses. Really skinny, frail guy. He collapses on the ground. They run over to him, turn him over, and they notice it's the same guy from the alley. Same guy from the alley. And the woman, right, notices that too. Police officer looks at the woman and says, "You should know that this guy gave you his own money. He gave you his own money, right? He didn't take your money. I believe that he gave you his own money for his tuition." And they turned the guy over, and the guy, he kind of caught his consciousness, and she asked him, "Why were you following me, right? I thought somebody was going to rob me again." And he said, "No, I was following you because I wanted to make sure no one robs you on the way to pay your son's tuition, because I know how much it meant to you, right? And I didn't want it to happen to you again," right? And the woman, she began to cry because she saw that she had misjudged the situation. She apologized to him, right? And how much do we do that, right? How many times do we do that with people who they mean the most to us, they love us, and sometimes we misjudge situations. We're quick to judge them for things, right? We're quick to accuse people of things. We're quick to jump to conclusions about things because of our misperceptions, right? And my message to us today is, it's not always what it seems. And if you find yourself on that other side like that woman, quick to point a finger at someone, right? Understand we all make mistakes, right? Understand where you err and fix it. Fix it. Be wise, be humble enough to say, "You know what? That was my fault. I misjudged. I jumped to conclusions," right? And that's my fault. Please forgive me. And that's what we ought to do, right? Because life gives us these kinds of experiences with all types of people, different people than us, right? And do you judge a book by its cover? When somebody comes into the room, and maybe they're different than you, maybe they have tattoos, or maybe your perception, you get something different from the situation, are you quick to take up guard? Are you quick to make your own conclusions about people? And that's my prayer for myself, right? That I fix my perception, because I understand how perception works, right? I understand that there's truth, but I've got this filter around it, and we all got this filter around it. And how can we get beyond that filter to see people for who they are, right? And for me, it's like I've always said this. I said my glass is half full, not half empty, right? So when I deal with people, first of all, I try not to judge a book by its cover, and everybody starts good with me. You say, Jermaine, you foolish. You can't do that, Jermaine. You can't do that. You got to protect yourself. You got to guard yourself. And yes, within, reason, of course. But everybody starts with me on a positive foot. Now, if you show your true colors and I find within reason that you're not coming from a good place and you don't mean me well and those around me, then we can, this is not fairy tale land. Positivity and positive thinking and all the stuff I stand for is not fairy tale land, right? It's not ignorance, right? Some people don't mean you well. Some people are out for evil. Some people, if you're not careful, will take you, right? But that's not most people. And I think people go around thinking everybody is bad, every situation is wrong. These are things I've heard. I won't tell you who told me, but things that I've heard a lot. You can't trust people. You can't trust people. And some people you can't trust, true enough. But I can't believe, and I don't want to accept as true, as my perception is that you simply can't trust people. I think you can. Right? Not all people, but you can trust people. And to trust people doesn't mean you don't trust God, right? It's not zero-sum games. Again, some people are so heavenly minded, they're no earthly good. I have no friends here. Jesus is my only friend, right? These are songs I've heard, testimonies I've heard. No, you can have earthly friends, and that's nothing against your relationship with God. Come on, you're too deep with me. You can trust your fellow man, some men. And you don't have to come into situations with trust issues and faith issues and thinking that, people are always against you, going to take from you, zero-sum game. Right? That's scarcity thinking. And I've never been about scarcity thinking. Scarcity thinking says there's not enough. There's not enough goodness. There's not enough resources. If you take, it's dog eat dog. If you take, then I don't get. If I take, you don't get. There's only one winner, right? There's winners, there's losers. That's scarcity thinking. I'm of abundance. Abundance means, right, we can all live good, fruitful, be productive. You being good and you growing is not anything against me growing and me being good, right? We can all do it together, right? And that's the message. So perception. Perception is reality, right? Because people don't see people see what they want to see, right? And what they want to see is often not true, right? So remember this story today, and remember the moral. Remember the moral of this story, right? About judgments, misperceptions, and let's just be cognizant. That's the first step of anything, right? Acknowledging, when our brain is tricking us. Acknowledging when, our thoughts are not serving us, right? And I check myself too. So why am I feeling like this? Why am I feeling like this? Like, for example, when I go to roll up my window for something, why am I feeling this way? Is this founded, or is this a perception? Perception conditioned by other things, right? And I can challenge my thoughts, my feelings, my perception. I can say, is this real? Is this real right now, right? Or is this perception coming, filtered by something, some other outside source? Is this real? And so perception, reality, that's the message.